Have you been watching the market recently? S&P 500 is down 8.62% from its high of February 19th of 6,144 to closing yesterday at 5,600 and roughly 15. Dow Jones Industrial Average is down almost 7% from its high in December of roughly 45,014 to closing yesterday at 41,912. In the last of the major indices, the NASDAQ has entered correction territory, down 13.41% from its high mid-December of 20,174 to closing yesterday at 17,468. It's a scary time to be in the market, and it's a scary time to be watching the market. Hey guys, welcome back to Old Guy Talks Money. It is definitely a scary and disconcerting time in the market. But is it time to panic? Is it time to sell? Let's talk about what I think you should do based on where you are in relation to retirement. So are you 3 years or more away? What should you consider? Maybe you were thinking about retiring at the end of 25. What should you do? And lastly, like me, what if you're already retired? What are the things you should think about or consider in light of what the market's doing? So if you're several years away from retirement, what do I think you should consider? And I know it's difficult. It can be really emotional. You're putting money in your 401k and you're seeing the balances shrink, and it gets real scary and you want to knee jerk. I actually knew somebody in 2008 that when we went through that downturn actually converted everything to cash and realized all those losses. Now, I don't know when he decided to get back in, but he turned a paper loss to a real loss. So it's going to be difficult. But what I think you should do is close your eyes. Quit looking at the market and keep doing what you're doing. Downturns in the market are just commonplace. They happen. If you had said to me prior to what we're experiencing right now, will we see a correction in the future? I would have said absolutely. Now, am I some magic prognosticator? No. It's just I know that when we talk about the market, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. These things just happen. And when you're many years out from retirement, you've got time to benefit from buying these shares low and letting the long-term growth profit you in the long run. It's going to be difficult. I know it's scary. Close your eyes. If you're closer to retirement, it might be a little bit scarier. You're planning to retire at the end of the year and all of a sudden we're down almost 10% across the board. It's got to be nerve-wracking. I think now is a good time to step back and look at your portfolio. Do you feel like you have proper allocations? It's going to be difficult to make changes right now with the market down, but I'd at least want to look at it. 2, I'd want to start accumulating cash if you haven't. Most financial people would say you need to have 1 to 3 years to create a bridge so that when you need to take distributions, you have sources that you can take them without realizing losses. Stress test your portfolio. See how it's going to do in a market downturn of 30%. Play with the inflation adjustment and see how that looks like. There's Monte Carlo simulators out there for free that you can kind of do all this. Look at longevity risk. Will it survive 30 years or 40 years? What does healthcare expenses look like? All these things you should have been doing as you were planning to prepare at the end of the year. But if you hadn't done it, now is a good time to look at that. The other thing, and it may not be popular, but it may be worth considering delaying retirement 1 more year. And if you're already retired, you may not have as many tools available to you, but hopefully you've come up with a plan for just such a scenario, and now's the time to work the plan. Look at the distributions you need to make. Where does it make the most sense for them to come from? I talked about that cash reserve bridge. That's a good place. Maybe you've got bonds, and you should. You should have a well diversified, allocated portfolio that includes both stocks, bonds, and some international exposure. You may have to consider taxation depending on what bucket you're pulling from. That's going to be part of the conversation. It may be that you have to look at your expenses and maybe scale some of those back. The other thing, depending on where you are from an age standpoint, is taking a closer look at Social Security. If you're really worried about the survivability of your portfolio, having to take distributions in a down market, If you're 62 or 65 and have been delaying Social Security, maybe it's time to consider turning that on, creating that fixed stream of income that's going to take pressure off your portfolio. What are the key takeaways? If you're several years away from retirement, close your eyes. Quit looking at the market. Do what you have been doing. Contribute to your 401k, your Roth and traditional IRAs. Avail yourself of the opportunity that the market has given you to buy in cheaper. If you're nearing retirement, test that portfolio. Make sure you build up cash reserves. If you're really worried about it and it's an option, maybe consider delaying retirement. We know from history the market goes up and down and it's cyclical. Downturns happen, and we also know that history has shown that they will reverse themselves. Just in my lifetime alone, I've lived through several, the dot-com bubble, the financial crisis, the little virus we had several years ago. Each of these instances, the market took drastic corrections and came back and reached new highs. And if you're already retired, work your plan. Part of retirement planning is having a distribution strategy that allows you sources of income that you can draw from when the market moves against you. And lastly, the key takeaway is stay calm, don't panic. I know it can be difficult. You see all those numbers going down and down, and you're like, I just want to get out. I want to stop the bleeding. But remember, until you hit sell, all those losses are just paper. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope this helped alleviate some of your fears. If you enjoyed the content, please hit that like and subscribe. It will help me grow the channel, and I will see you in the future.